Alright, hello everyone. Today we're going to be processing the North America Nebula. I imaged this last night under a full moon with no filters, which is, I guess it's something you're not supposed to do, but whatever. We're in PixInsight here. Here's an individual exposure that has just an auto stretch applied to it. There's really nothing there at all, which, is because of the moon, obviously. You can just kind of see part of the Cygnus wall right here. That's about the only feature that is kind of prominent. So then we got our stacked image here. I stacked with PixInsight. I don't think I'm going to stack with Deep Sky Stacker anymore because, weighted batch pre-processing works far better in PixInsight. So if we apply a stretch to this, now we're talking. Now we got some stuff popping up in here. You got the Pelican Nebula over here. The Cygnus wall is much more defined. There's a lot of action going on here. Here's the actual North America Nebula right here. Here is what I was able to create out of this. This is the final image I came up with. But I'm going to process it again. You can see exactly how I did it. Would you even have guessed that this was under a full moon? I wouldn't. This is what we have starting out. So what we want to do is just apply a stretch to it like that. Have screen transfer function open and then go to histogram transformation. Grab the instance here, move it down, and then apply it. And it looks horrible. It's just a white screen. So you gotta take off the auto stretch again. Now your image is stretched. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna save this, and I'm just gonna name it 1, and I'm gonna save it as a TIFF, as a 16-bit TIFF with no compression. So Photoshop is able to work with it. So now we've got it open in Photoshop, and I know a lot of people would not be doing it this way. They would be doing everything in PixInsight, but this is just how I do it. I paid for Gradient Exterminator. I'm gonna use Gradient Exterminator. The vignetting is not really all that terrible with this because I took flat frames. I tried to stack it prior without flat frames, and it was a nightmare. So we're just gonna select around, inverse, and go to Gradient Exterminator and run it on medium and medium. All right. So that looks much better. So now I'm just gonna bring the levels in a little. I'm gonna crop it a little bit, just a little. Okay, looks good to me. So I'm gonna save it, turn off layers. Anyway, going on with this, we can close out of that. We don't need it. Open this up, what we just did. And I could remove the stars in Photoshop, but I'm just going to remove the stars in PixInsight because it automatically separates the stars from the actual nebula image. So you don't have to do like the whole apply image, subtract thing that you have to do with Photoshop. It's just easier to do it on here. So Star Exterminator, you can work your magic. Alright, so we got our star image and we got our nebula image. So what we're gonna do is just save the nebula image and save the star image. We're just gonna open them up in Photoshop and do a levels adjustment on this. And you can see it's starting to look a little funky here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go around the whole nebula, and I'm gonna run Gradient Exterminator again, but this time on aggressive. And there you go. Looks a little bit better. We've got walking noise in here, which is this almost like vertical pattern, like banding going on here. So I'm gonna use this tool I have, vertical banding noise reduction, and I'm just gonna run that action, and that should clean it up pretty good. Yeah, that did pretty good. If you want to see a before and after of that, there's before and there's after. Definitely does some magic for sure. I'm just gonna do a curve stretch on this. And then bring our levels back in. So yeah, this looks a little bit funky, but that's alright. Go into camera raw filter. And I'm gonna get rid of this color noise here. So I'm gonna take a brush mask and I'm just gonna darken this section over here a little. Just trying to make it look a little bit more even. I'm gonna take the stars now and put the stars back in. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take the red channel, select it, open a new file, paste the red channel in. So I'm gonna grab a brush mask, turn my clarity all the way up, and I'm just gonna paint on like these areas here of hydrogen alpha, the gases. I'm gonna select it and I'm gonna paste it back into the red channel. So that kind of just brings it out a little more. If you have an unmodified camera, it can make a little bit of a difference. One other thing I'm gonna do actually is select the nebula layer, duplicate it, create a mask, alt click into the mask, paste, invert, and then bring up my levels, and I'm just gonna affect the nebula here by going into the bottom layer, and then I can open up camera raw again, and then I can kind of just turn up my vibrance and saturation a little. And there you go. Adds a little bit more flavor to it. So now what I'm gonna do is I can try to run Gradient Exterminator one more time. See if it can do anything here. Yeah, I mean, that looks a little more even. Alright. So I'm gonna save this now, open it back up in PixInsight. Now I have RC Astro Noise Exterminator on Photoshop, but it takes forever for some reason. I don't know why. I just use it in PixInsight. I don't know, it goes so much faster. Run it on the default settings here. Looking nice and smooth. So now I'm gonna save that, and I'm gonna open it in Photoshop again. So I don't have Blur Exterminator yet, but I did find something that works pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't say it's definitely not as good as Blur Exterminator. I don't think anything's ever gonna be as good as Blur Exterminator, but this is free, and it does a pretty good job, especially with sharpening stars. The only downfall to it is you have to do it by individual monochrome channels, which kind of sucks. So you have to go into your channels and take your red, green, and blue, save them individually. So here's the program. It's called AstroSharp by Deep Sky Detail. So I'm going to take my red channel and it's going to do its thing. And then whenever it's done, I open up the green channel and it does its thing. And then after that's done, I open up the blue channel and let it do its thing on that. And then after that, we're going to come back in here and we're going to open up each channel and paste them in to the channels in our image one by one. And then that will result in a fully sharpened image. Like I said, it does a pretty good job. It's kind of like a Walmart brand Blur Exterminator. Like, it's free. Blur Exterminator is like $100. It does pretty good for being free. I've been using it a lot lately just because I haven't been able to buy Blur Exterminator yet. So the red channel finished. So let me just show you. So the stars are way sharper. A lot of this like dark gas is a lot sharper. Well, here's the stars before, and then there's the stars after. It does a pretty good job, especially for being a free program. Can't really complain. And if you look at like the dark gases in here, It definitely sharpens them up a good bit too. But yeah, now we just gotta wait for the green channel and blue channel to finish. Alright, so the blue channel's done. There we go. Now we have sharpened channels for each channel, red, green, and blue. All the stars are nice and sharp now. I have what it looked like before and after. This is with the sharpened stars, and then this is before. You can see how smudgy the stars look. It definitely makes a big difference. I mean, if you zoom in, it isn't super pretty, but if you're just posting this on social media, no one's gonna notice that. So then what I'll do now is maybe I will run a little bit of Austal, just a green on this. There we go, that looks a little better. But now I'm gonna save this again, and I'm gonna open it up in PixInsight again, and I'm gonna run Noise Exterminator again. Because as you can see, the sharpening kind of put these artifacts, you know, right here, you can really see it. So if we run Noise Exterminator again, it'll get rid of that. Yeah, running Noise Exterminator this time around, I'm gonna turn the denoise to 0.6 and the detail to like 30, and then run it. As you can see, there's before with all the artifacts, and after. Gets rid of them, but still retains the detail and everything else. So there you go. There's the North America Nebula, and the Pelican Nebula over here too, if you care about him. So yeah, that's how I processed that image, taken under a full moon. It's like 3.5 hours of integration time. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with that, considering it's taken with a Sony mirrorless camera. No filters whatsoever, just a completely stock Sony mirrorless camera with a Sony 200 to 600 millimeter lens. Getting something like that with that kind of equipment is pretty insane. Also using Star Adventure 2i tracking mount with auto guiding. The only fancy astronomy equipment I have is the sky tracking mount and the auto guider. I think that looks awesome, in my opinion. I mean, I'm sure there's some, like, pixel peepers out there that'll tell me this looks horrible. I've only been doing astrophotography, like, seriously for, like, 5 months. I feel like I'm getting better at it, and it's becoming extremely enjoyable for me. I absolutely love doing it. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and hope you have a good one.